You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Batuta Advocate, on Desert Rock FM. Welcome back to the Batuta Advocate radio show, recording live here in downtown Batuta. We are very excited this week. We've got a repeat guest. Would have been a year or two ago we had him on last time, Errol.
It was back when we didn't have to smuggle our guests across the border.
Yeah. Now you know everything's opening up, and life is returning to normal across the country, and it means it's time to pack out stadiums again, get out there. Events are back on the calendar right across the country, and today's guest is playing a big role in that down in the Harbour City. Georgie Rose, Gorgeous George, thank you for joining us.
My absolute pleasure to be here, guys. Big fan.
It's amazing. Last time we had you on here, you were still very much what many would call a rugby league pundit.
That's true.
Nowadays, you've moved in leaps and bounds. It's almost like you are synonymous with Australian boxing now, George Rose. For years, you were one of the better-looking rugby league talents.
Thank you.
That was what you were known as. But now you are, I guess, the face of the Australian boxing, and you've got some of the biggest fights locked in, back to back to back.
Back to back to back, which was a great idea. When we sat down and thought about it, we thought, you know what, let's do a fight here. And then, you know what, we'll do a double header 3 weeks later. That's a mad idea. And then you've got to try and actually do it. And logistically, yeah, there's not much sleep.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. You had this fight locked in with Timmy Tszyu in Queensland.
Yes.
And obviously things aren't back on track with borders and that kind of stuff in Queensland. So you moved that at the last minute. Well, it wasn't really the last minute. You had a bit of a run up here. What was the turn of events there?
Well, in terms of planning, it definitely was last minute. We've done three months of work in Queensland to get it all sorted up there. And, mate, I was stoked. Queensland's beautiful. The weather's great. You know, the Gold Coast is a great venue for boxing, and I definitely want to go back there still. I'd love to put a show on there. But what we've learned, I think, in this COVID era of the last 18 months to 2 years, is that we need to be agile and we need to be ready to move and react as we have to along the way. And as it turns, the best option was to have to relocate back to New South Wales. And in hindsight, now looking at how everything is at the moment, it's definitely the better choice.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a great venue, Qudos Arena. We've always wanted to take a fight out there, so really excited to be back here in New South Wales. Really, but same time very disappointed we didn't get the Gold Coast over the line.
It's an interesting thing to kind of talk about with boxing, because in this day and age with this pandemic, you've got fighters that need to fight fighters from other countries. You know, it's kind of like they're beyond the pond now. So you've had to bring in Takeshi Inoue.
Yep.
Well, you didn't have to. You got him.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a big coup for Tim Tszyu to fight him.
Yep.
What was it looking like? Was it looking like he was going to have to do his 2 weeks in Queensland and then 2 weeks into Sydney, and then he's going to have to do basically 4 weeks of quarantine?
Yeah. So there was prior to the fight, it was looking like there was going to be 2 weeks here in New South Wales and then 2 weeks in Queensland. So that's 28 days leading into a fight.
Yeah.
Even if they get through that 28 days, the quality of their performance is, it's going to be compromised because of that. Boxing's a hard sport.
Yeah.
The preparation that goes into that for them to be able to step into the ring and put on a quality performance it's tough. It's really tough. And so if they're missing out on the training opportunities that they need before the fight, it will affect the outcome. And for us, I want it to be fair for all people involved, and the fair option ended up being sticking in New South Wales.
Yeah. I mean, doing 28 days in quarantine would fuck anyone up.
Yeah. I know. You'd almost rather be in jail because you'd have other people to talk to. I guess,
That's a month, yeah.
Yes, but like...
you get less for white-collar crimes.
And you get your rec time too.
3 hots and a cot.
So live sport especially was really impacted by, the past 2 years and the events that transpired there. What was it like working with, state governments, lifelong bureaucrats who've never had to make a buck outside of the public service? What was it like talking to them and trying to get everything back up off the ground? Like, did you get much support from the state government?
Look, I think they're in a very difficult position. I think everything with COVID has been difficult. I think for anyone making decisions, a lot of decisions you're making with the unknown. Mm-hmm. We've never been through something like this before in this modern time, and so decisions have to be made, and you know, everybody beneath that has to react and has to do, you know, what's said, pretty much what's mandated. You've got to go with the punches and, you know, stick and move and find a way to make it work. And I think that's where we've sort of found ourselves over the last 18 months. So we've put on over 5 shows in that time, and each time I think we've been really lucky. I know last year in December.
Yeah, that was the one, right?
Yeah.
You hosted, it was
out of
Gallon Hunt in Bankwest Stadium, packed out.
Yep.
A day before the Avalon cluster.
A day before the Avalon cluster. And the week of the fight, restrictions had been eased the week of the fight. So, you know, everything was just going perfectly. And then a day later, the Avalon thing happened.
Yeah.
And so we dodged a bullet. Like,
the Rose Boys took off to Noosa. Rose Boys took off to Noosa, and that was done.
And before that, you know, we had the Townsville fight while things were limited in Sydney. And then after that, we've been really lucky. The probably the one that we had the most difficulty with was the July fight with Tim Tszyu, Steve Spark, and we had great numbers there, and then that got reduced to like 50% or 25% or something the week of the fight.
And all credit to Steve Spark, good Toowoomba kid, just stepped up at the last minute. There was a fighter who was up against Tim Tszyu in the Newcastle Tszyu Castle. That was some of your best work was Tszyu Castle. Yeah. So the fighter drops out at the last. What was the timeline you're working there?
Oh man, that was a very testing time as well. I mean, and like you said, a massive credit to Stevie Spark.
Yeah.
Like, to step up against Australia's best boxer, on 7 days' notice.
A week's notice.
Ready to go. And
was he pulling beers? He was pulling beers.
He was pretty much pulling beers, and then within hours, he's on a charter flight flying down to Newcastle. And he rolled in the door that night, just as the promo for Tszyu Spark had just been first released, and Fox did a great job of turning that around, and he's walked in just as it's rolled on, and he's gone from.
And he did, mate. You know, we're talking, as you're saying, preparation. He didn't have the preparation. He's a natural talent.
Yep.
He got to a couple rounds there too, which was it was a good show for everyone, especially after the year they'd had up there.
Mate, he's a very good fighter. He's a really good fighter, and while he trains every day, when you prepare for an actual fight, the training prep is a lot different. You know, he's active every day and he's in the gym every day. But to prepare for a fight, you know, it's a next level preparation. So, you know, he wasn't going to take a backward step.
And up against a fighter like Timmy too, you know, like as you're saying, he's the best in the country. You know, like he wasn't going out to fight a plumber.
Exactly. You know, it's literally the hardest possible fight he could have had in the country. Literally.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you tell me a little bit about the prodigal son? I know he doesn't like being referred to that because he's obviously he's proven his mettle.
Yeah.
But what is it about this Tszyu family? Like, how do they prepare? Is it hardcore Russian discipline? How do they do this? I've never seen anything like it in both Kostya and Timmy. They're just always the fittest. They're always the fittest.
Yep.
They're always standing. He's getting out of the ring and jumping on the panel and sitting there for half an hour.
And just chilled like nothing happened. It's crazy. I mean, Tim uses the same team that Kostya used.
Yep.
So all of his training, all the people around him are all the same people that Kostya had around him.
Yep.
And I know for our era, like growing up, you know, Kostya Tszyu was a beast, man.
Yeah.
Like he was, you know, an idol for everyone. So many people grew the ratty just because of Kostya, because he looked like. He looked like a killer, and he trained like a killer. And the thing with Tim and his family is that they've grown up around that their whole life too. They've been very close around that boxing life and the boxing lifestyle. And you know, as we saw on All Access, you know, Timmy when he was a young kid, training, and I think the quote that he had, he must have been only a young teenager at the time. His quote was like, "We don't lose in this family. All we do is win." You know, so that was that winner's attitude that he's always had, and you know, you see him take that in to his professional boxing now. He's so focused. He trains hard, and he turns up and he just rips and tears.
You've been privy to his preparation. Are we talking like an hour skipping? Like, what is there that kind of stuff going on? Is there like intermittent fasting, or
Man, I don't get too much around his training because I know, like, I understand how hard it is, and I don't want to be any sort of distraction in any way. I leave all of their training up to him and his team, and let them do their thing. And so when it's funny, we had a yarn about it recently. Is like when it comes to fight time. We're both on different levels. For us, we're all about hype, pump it up. Let's get excited. It's fight time, and for him, it's like it's cutting them last few kilograms of weight. And,
get in the zone,
focused, and getting right in the zone. So he's getting super intense, and we're getting super excited. So
you're letting off the confetti.
There's two different energies going on at the same time. But so it's good if I can keep as much distance from him as possible.
You've come a long way since our last interview. Back then, we were talking about you guys had been working with NRL players and stuff, which was a natural kind of pathway for you because as an ex-player, particularly working with Koori footballers, yourself as an ex-Koori footballer, one of the original All-Stars, Gorgeous George, had the big rose shaved in the side of the head. I do remember that.
Indeed.
When Wendell played the didgeridoo on the side post. We remember that. You've moved in, you've been involved in events, you and your brothers, but you've moved in leaps and bounds. When we spoke last time, you had Gallen signed to 3 fights.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think at that point it was like Hopper was about to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
Great fight.
It was. Yeah.
And he actually gave us tickets as we thought Hopper Waddy had died. We stopped filming because we were like, geez, Hopper. But the best thing about Hopper was he got up after 5 or so minutes and demanded the ref continue the fight. It's like, Hopper, everyone just went to the toilet, went to the bar. You can't.
Where have you been for 5 minutes?
And then from there, you start getting, had a lot of footballers, a lot of people involved, and you also had the, on the card, you also always had the Camilleries and the actual kind of seasoned fighters. Now you're talking, as you said before, you're doing double headers. You've got 3 fights in 3 weeks. How do you and your brothers operate? How did that happen so quickly?
Look, there's been a lot of hard work that's gone into it. I think finding the right partners, the right people to work with along the way, has had a massive influence on it.
Yeah.
I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to deliver an excellent product as well, and we've been blessed with the fact that fighters on our cards have delivered every time. Yeah. They turn up and they really put it on. We try and put some really quality matchups on, and the fighters themselves have repaid us in turning up and having a red hot crack and making it entertaining for the people, because the more entertaining the night is, the more people keep coming back, the more people keep watching. Yeah. And that's what we've just been doing, is work on getting them great fights together, work on the fight experience. When people come, you're not coming just to watch the fights, you're coming to experience an event. And it's the entertainment between the fights, before you know it, another fight rolls out, you're just having a little bit of fun on the kiss cam and passion the bloke next to you.
Yeah.
And then now, next thing you know... You
really got caught out on that one, actually, didn't I?
And that's what we want, that whole experience to be good. We don't just want it to be, just a knockabout thing. We want it to be...
You're showman.
That's what we're there for. And we've managed to find a few showmen along the way too, to be on the card. And that's what we've been lucky with too, is the guys who we get on, they want to fight, they want to get amongst it. Even with the footy guys who are getting amongst it, they're guys who truly want to have a red hot crack.
I said before that you no longer... recognised solely as Georgie Rose of Sea Eagles,
Premiership winning Sea Eagles,
Premiership winning Sea Eagles, All Stars, St George, and then briefly Melbourne fame. You're now synonymous Georgie Rose, Gorgeous George Rose, from No Limit Boxing. You're a promoter. You're standing between the fighters. But I'll tell you who else has done this, made that transition, is Gallen. He's now known as a boxer. You know what I mean? And was he always about that, or did it start as a novelty thing for him, a cash grab? Because now he's just ready to fight anyone and beating them. Yeah,
well, I think that's the thing, is it? A bit like ourselves. It's something that he did, just to experience for the first time, and he found he was really good at it. And he kept winning, and he kept winning, and he kept making money, and he kept getting people watching. People want to watch him either lose or win, A lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him, and it's the same with us. We started off doing it to help some guys out, and we got really good at it, and we were getting better and better, and we've grown, and it's the same with Gal. Like, man, he still hasn't been beat by any other footballer.
No.
He's challenged. He beat Lucas Brown, former world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And then lost in the Australian title fight. He actually fought for an Australian title.
Yeah, and also the young fella that he was fighting there in the last one, Justice Honey.
Yeah.
Like that kid was heading to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And he only
He's a serious boxer.
He went was it how many 10 rounds?
Yeah.
He went the full 10 with him.
And then went to the Olympics.
Well, no, the kid, Justice couldn't make it in the end because he hurt his hand in that fight, punching Gallen's titanium head. So, like, we are talking, a heavyweight boxer now. He's not just a Cronulla captain.
Oh, definitely. He's the real deal, and he's ranked because of it. Like he's got good wins on his record.
Yeah. Tell you what, up here in Queensland, you would be able to sell out the biggest stadium in the world if you put Paul Gallen up against Tyson Fury.
Oh,
so come and watch Paul Gallen fight Tyson Fury.
I think Tyson Fury actually likes him. He did an interview recently and said that Gal's got big balls. He quite likes him.
Yeah, because you got to imagine these guys are watching every fight that's happening in the world, particularly in their division. So he would have seen Gal fighting.
And the heavyweights are entertaining. They are really entertaining. And I do honestly think that there's opportunity for NRL players in the boxing game, because guys who play footy, they're generally very athletic, very fit. And tough as nails, and there's half of the job done already. You've got to have the skill to go with it. There's a lot of skill required in it, but in the heavyweights, if you hit hard and you're athletic,
it's kind of one punch
you're
stuff.
halfway there.
Yeah, it's and Bam Bam came out of football too. He spent a long time training and stuff. Yeah. He's you'll get him one of these days. The lights of the UFC. Kind of, when he's fought everyone there, he'll just come down here. Who you put him up against, you reckon?
Absolutely anyone who wants him.
Sorry, Gal. It's over, pal.
So let's talk about the fight that's coming up on Wednesday with Takeshi. What's his reputation like as a fighter?
Well, he's only lost one fight, and that was in a world title fight against a very reputable champion. So to lose... To have that as the only loss on his record, that's a good start. He's also number 7 in the world, WBO number 7, and he's the best fighter coming out of Japan. So it's a tough fight, and I mean the hard thing is I've been trying to explain to everyone is that we all love Timmy. We all think Timmy's going to win. He's going to beat anyone. You put him in against anyone in the world, he's going to win because we love him. Yeah. But the fact is that if he's not 100, if he doesn't turn up and give absolutely 100% to win this fight. He's at high risk. Takeshi is a really good fighter.
He actually looks the part. Like if you were to cast a movie about like the opponent from Japan, that's what he'd look like. He'd look like Takeshi Inoue.
He's a good-looking rooster.
He's a good-looking rooster, and he's fucking jacked. I'll tell you that much.
He turned up and ripped his shirt off at the open media session the other day, and everyone was like, "Holy shit!" And then he starts sweating, and it looks like he's oiled up his body for the cameras. And I'm like, I would not wear a shirt. He'd fit in over here, mate. He'd be strutting around Bondi if he spent the summer here. Mate,
get a sleeve tap.
He'd be doing all right.
Get a sleeve tap. Now, tell me who else you got. Who else you got coming up? Because you got, as you said, you got three. You got 3 in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So then we've got a double header that we're going to do in Newcastle on the 9th and 10th of December. So 3 weeks after that, we're heading up there, and we'll have Andrew Maloney, great Aussie boxer. He'll be headlining the Thursday night into the Friday night, which we'll have littered with the footy fights.
Yep.
We'll have Gallen and Alawai headlining that one.
Yep.
Harry Garside's going to make his professional debut on that one.
Yeah.
Joey Leilu and Chris Hyington.
Looking forward to that one.
Another exciting fight. And we've got some young guys on there as well too. Yeah. So there's a few more to finalise and announce in the coming days. So
who have you got your eyes on coming through the ranks? Obviously, it's your job to figure out who's gonna put on a show and who's going to go the distance. Have you see any young fellas coming through?
Well, 2 guys that we've just signed recently, Harry Garside and Sam Goodman. Yeah, both really good young fighters, and 2 that I'm excited about. Harry, we saw what he did at the Olympics, and everyone's keen to see what he can do in the professional ranks, and from all reports, I think he's going to have a really solid career, and we're excited to be a part of that. We're excited that we've got him on our shows to be a part of that. As I mentioned, another good young guy, Sam Goodman. Yeah. mate, he's got a 9-0 record. He's an absolute weapon, and everyone in the boxing ranks always talk about, who's the top prospects. They talk about Liam Wilson's great, and they talk about Sam Goodman, who's another one who is, potential world champion. And for us, it fits perfect with us. He's a guy that I don't think anybody's seen enough of him yet. So to have him on our shows, we're going to give him that platform that he deserves. And you're just going to see how good he is. His actions are going to speak for themselves. But they're two young guys that we've got that we're really excited about. Another big heavyweight, Jackson Murray. Keep an eye on him. He's only had one fight. He fought on our Wollongong card and had a knockout victory there. And you know me, I love heavyweights, man.
So. Well, I mean, as a young man, you only ever fought on the pebbles, of course, in the streets of Bathurst. But we would classify you as a heavyweight back then, in front of the Oxford Hotel.
I probably was. Either fight or run.
Fight,
win's a win.
Fight, flight, or freeze.
You win the race, it's still a win.
So, tell us a little. I just want to talk about that Tszyu Horn fight up in Townsville. What was it called? Tropic Thunder. Yeah, that was some good marketing. How was that? Obviously, everything was going on in the world, but Townsville was free, and Queensland was out and about. What was that like?
Well, I wouldn't actually know. So I was sitting back here in Sydney doing all of the admin and paperwork back here, trying to get myself up there, but also doing everything else that needed to be done here, and the rest of the team were up there in Townsville. So
any of your brothers get up there?
Yeah. So they got up there, and they said that it was epic. Like Tim actually had a massive following up there, even though it was in Jeff's backyard. I think as the fight went on, and Tim was really starting to dominate, the people who were sort of, not 100% on Horn, they started jumping over onto the Tszyu bandwagon. And so great stadium up there, great weather as always in Queensland, and mate, epic fight from Timmy Tszyu. Like he just, I think that was really his coming out party. He turned up against a former champion and really dominated him for the entirety of that fight. It was amazing. And I was sitting at home here, and I was watching every punch, and I was like, shit, Timmy's going to win this. Because I got nervous leading up to it, right? I got really nervous about the fight. I'm always confident in Timmy. Like I said, I think he'll beat everyone in the world. But all of the top-notch boxing guys, in the interviews leading up to it, they were all saying, Timmy Tszyu's a great guy, but Horn's got this one wrapped up. And all the top guys are saying that, and I started thinking, holy shit, are we in a bit of trouble here?
Yeah.
But then he come out and he just absolutely turned it on. And I'm watching at home, and it's just like, this is the best. And then at the same time, I'm thinking, fuck, I'm sitting on my couch. I'm not up there part of it. This is the worst. This is the worst.
It was a handing of the torch too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Horn had seen those heights. Like Manny Pacquiao at Suncorp was a big day.
Yeah, and Horn himself too was a bit of like, he was a bolt from the blue himself.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't around for very long before he was champion.
No. And that win against Pacquiao, like, I was there that day. It was, mate, it was unbelievable. Like, Horn wasn't our fighter, but, mate, I was cheering for him. I was cheering for him 100%. Like, that was amazing.
And he did.
And that was so cool. Like, Manny Pacquiao's an absolute legend. And getting a win like that, that's so cool.
So, apart from this amazing fight you managed to put together, which, in this, as we said before, in this day and age, to get this Japanese fighter, number 7 in the world, into Sydney for a fight is impressive. Who else is there out there in the world for Timmy anyway?
For Tim, look, well, at the moment he's mandatory challenger for the world title, so a lot of work went into that. We got that over the line, but where it sits at the moment is that there's 2 champions in his weight division. So there's the 4 sanctioning bodies, and there's 2 champions that hold the titles over those 4 bodies. And they fought recently, had a controversial draw, and they're aiming for a rematch. So while Tim's mandated a shot at the title, he's got to wait to see what happens with that rematch and where he sits in it. If the rematch doesn't go ahead, hopefully the next fight is Tim's world title. against Brian Castano.
Yeah, the Argentinian.
Yes, and he's a very good fighter.
Yeah.
He's a very good fighter, and I actually thought that he won the fight against Charlo.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job there. And
Love a controversial draw, though.
yeah, so do the promoters over there.
I was just about to say they'd be loving it.
Oh no, we've got to run it back. Oh no,
Everyone, keep your tickets. We're going to do it again.
So that was another question I wanted to ask. It's like, it's the game you're in now, and, big players, it's a cowboy game. I mean, obviously you've managed to navigate the Australian boxing, but you start talking about promoters in Argentina and shit.
Yeah.
Do you reckon as a couple of brothers from Walgett, Western New South Wales, you came equipped for this industry?
look, I think a lot of it's been learning on the run.
Yeah, right.
And had some great lessons, had some really hard lessons,
Yep.
and some great lessons. But I think where we're at the moment, I think we're in a really good place. But we're not getting comfortable.
Yep.
We're not getting comfortable. We want to keep growing. We want to
Yep.
keep bringing good fights and keep doing good things. Because I think it's a bit like footy. You're only as good as your last game,
Yep.
and for us, we're only as good as our last fight.
Yep.
So we've got to keep bringing the goods, keep putting on the good matchups, the big fights,
Yep.
and keep entertaining people.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. Like when we sit around and talk about the fights that we want to match, it's about entertainment as well.
Yeah, yeah.
If that's a fight that I want to see, then I assume that other people want to see that too, or they will enjoy it if they get the opportunity to watch it.
What's it like? What's the difference between working with boxers and working with footballers? Tell me that, because you've got some of the best talent in the NRL you're working quite closely with, in the shape of Cody Walker, Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten.
Yeah.
Two different worlds there, I'm guessing. Like, boxers disappear for months at a time and train every day, and then footballers are very much, it's a job. It's they treat it like a job, like that, rather than a purpose for being. Boxers are like, this is who I am. This is
like, I suppose a boxer would be more like a contractor.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that stands out for me the most is, as a footy player, if you have a shit game, you can rock up 7 days later and completely turn that around. So you might get sprayed for 4 days saying they're terrible, put a line through them. I mean, well, for the Bunnies, for example, last year, they got beat by 50 points in a game, and they said, put a line through them, they're done. They turned around and won a heap of games, and people forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Whereas as a fighter, you lose a fight, it could be anything from 3 to 6, 12 months before you get the chance to redeem yourself.
Right.
And the lead into it, you've got a 3-month preparation leading into it. So there's a lot that goes into it. The discipline level is probably the other thing for fighters, is that while they both train very hard and they're both very focused on their craft, footy players and boxers, as a boxer, you've got to be so much more disciplined. The weight cuts, watching what you eat, watching what you do, can't have a beer with the boys. All of that stuff, like they are so strict with everything they do as an athlete, but they have to.
Yeah, and you can't play like 2/3 of the game and then just walk off.
You can't get tired and sneak down the sideline for. You take these couple of punches from me, mate. I'm going to go and chill out over here on the ropes.
Yeah. And footballers do kind of, because they're training every day, they can roll the dice on a couple beers.
Yeah, 100%
on the weekend. After a match,
and I think the people that aren't so shredded usually make the best footballers.
Oh, absolutely, George.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
I would absolutely believe that. No, you. It was actually, I was looking over your career heading into this, and I did find you won a premiership. That premiership, you scored a couple of tries that season too. That was your glow up, and probably at your huskiest. I think you were moving the fastest, and you were getting through the holes. But then you, what season was it when you were jacked? I'm looking for that first. I want to get a photo up of that haircut you had at the All Stars match, because I think that's the season I'm talking about when you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was in good shape that year.
Yeah,
I was in really good shape. That was
What year was that?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
That was you were. You were a dime piece, Georgie.
Yeah, I was. I was getting photos with my shirt off and stuff like that. There was some definition. I think I had a 2-pack. I'm positive I had a 2-pack. I've never had a 6 or an 8, but I had a 2-pack that year. Yeah. And I felt like 2-pack with the shirt off. It was life.
And
was
also,
good.
you were part of a team which was full of a lot of, like, how would you say, icons.
Yeah.
Sex icons. So cutting around with did you ever become a surfie?
Have you ever tried to surf? So the surfing part of it's really cool. Have you tried to paddle out though? You try to paddle. The first time I did it, it took me like half an hour to paddle out, and I got out there and I just laid on the board for like 10 minutes, and then
we're talking big mal, or
of course. I wasn't going to fit on anything else, but I got out there and I was wrecked. And then the second time I did it again. It took me 40 minutes to paddle out the second time, and then I was stuffed. Laid out there on the board, and then I got motion sickness in the waves while I was laying there, and it wasn't a good experience. But I did stand up. I did stand up.
You come in on the wave, and then you jump into the rip, and it takes you straight out in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that's all right if you're not 120 kilos. It doesn't move as quick when you're 120. Plus, I was scared of rips too. Like I'm a muddy water guy, so yeah. I'll catch waves in the muddy water.
That's one thing I want to talk to you about. Muddy water out there in Walgett, and you guys have a history of winning a lot of football matches in the shape of the Walgett Aboriginal Connection.
Yes.
What are you looking like moving forward? There hasn't been a knockout for a while. What are you looking like 2022?
Mate, it's such it's so up in the air. Like 2 years is a long time. A lot happens. Like even when knockouts are rolling through regular, a lot happens from year to year.
It's still South Coast, New South Wales are meant to host because they won in 2019.
So they're the third year running champions. Even though they've won it once, but they've carried the title for the third year running. And I don't know. It's the 50th anniversary coming up, and I was training my ass off because I want to play in the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
So I've been training for like 2 years, and nothing's happening, and I feel myself getting older. Yeah, I feel myself. I'm like they're trying to get me out of it. Yeah. I'm playing in the 50th, no matter what. I'm going to be there. But it's the new faces for me that there's going to be young guys who were on the fringe, 2 years ago, who are now going to be in their prime that people don't know about. Yeah. And so we're going to turn up thinking that we're the grouse. We've got some good young guys ourselves, though, too. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Koori knockout's an interesting one because it's like you never know which town's going to pop. I mean, was that their first ever season?
That was the first one,
the South Coast Cockatoos. Yeah. I remember, actually, because we went into one of your fights and there were the Cockatoos were there, I remember. And it was just a couple months after that.
There was a bit of layering up. You get the right to, though. You win the knockout, you get the right to layer up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I remember being like, we're in royalty here. We've got a whole row of Nowra men who just they've won the KO in their first ever season.
Yeah.
I mean, Wall Street Warriors, they might be one to keep an eye on if Inglis kind of comes back from England.
Yep, yeah. Well, he's
back.
back
for us.
He's back, is he?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. I'm hearing talk up around Newcastle that the Yowies and All Blacks, they might not be a separate side anymore. I don't know.
Okay.
So
that might be the biggest thing we've had on this podcast.
The Newcastle teams are so strong. They've been the strongest the last 10 years. The Newcastle teams have been in the mix for, on that Monday for the last 10 years. So. But they've got such a strong competition up there. Yeah. The competition's really good. And you can say the same about the South Coast, but that's the first time that they've won it. Yeah. So, who knows if they'll kick on and get a few more. But WAC will be there. We've got some young guys who are in really good shape at the moment. We've just got to make sure we get a good season of footy, and we're coming to win it. We're not coming to participate.
Do you reckon there'll be a Redcliffe Dolphins no limit fight? As in, like,
it's just Dolphins.
Dolphin Stadium?
Just Dolphins.
Just Dolphins, yeah.
Mate, I'd love to go there.
Yeah, Dolphin Stadium.
I think they've got a great venue. And I think Queenslanders get behind sport. Queenslanders really do get behind sport. I love that. I love that. I think, Queenslanders are a lot like me. If I didn't hate them so much in June and July, I feel like I'd actually like you people a lot more.
Yeah, no, look, we're good people, mate. And we turn up to your events. We turn up to your events. Well, strength to strength, George Rose and your brothers got a lot going on. We're excited for this next fight, Inoue versus Tszyu.
On Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Yep.
So
Wednesday.
2 nights from now.
Yep. And you can watch that on your main event through KO.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Main event, KO. Yeah. I mean, KO is great. You can watch it on your phone anywhere, no matter where you are. Yeah. You can get on, watch it anywhere.
And if you're in Sydney, why not go down?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you're allowed to go to stadiums now. You fucking go.
You're allowed to go anywhere you want in New South Wales, it's just you can't go anywhere else. No other state will have you.
Yeah. So
besides Victoria.
Besides Victoria.
Well, and it is. It's a good show. We do put on a good show. I can guarantee that. If you come along, I think you'll enjoy it. And we're always open to feedback, so feel free to share any feedback. And if there's any fights that you think you want to see, let us know.
Yeah, right.
I love putting on good fights.
Okay. I'd like to see Thigh Day versus...
himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Who wins that?
No, there's too much love there. No.
Yeah, so I'd like to see Sam Thaiday and John Eales.
Ooh.
Okay, sure. John Eales, glove up. I think he's more of a boardroom kind of guy nowadays.
That's why it'd be so interesting.
All right, that's the call out. And then John Eales, we want to see you in the ring. John.
He's past it now.
I don't know.
You'd have a reach on him.
Yeah, and I have it on good authority. If you go to these events, I have it on good authority because I've been to one myself. Georgie Rose is in charge of the playlist in between the entrance songs. So if you like listening to WAP by Cardi B or John Bon Jovi, he's got an array of music in that playlist, and it's always a good time. It's always a party. So what's Timmy walking out to?
Mate, it's a surprise.
Right.
You know, ever since we did the big entry for him, we've sort of created a bit of a beast there.
Okay.
So we want to make it an exciting entry every time he comes.
All right. Well, we look forward to it, mate. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Good luck smuggling me back across the border.
Mate, just like everything, it's easier on the way out than on the way in.